Hey there, Mama, and welcome back to the Mom's Overcoming Overwhelm podcast, episode number 210. I'm Emily McDermott, and I am here beside you on this journey as we work together to declutter your home, head, and heart. A couple episodes ago, I shared my favorite apps for staying organized and clutter-free, and today I'm going to be sharing my favorite tools that I actually use in my home to keep it organized and clutter-free. So you don't have to go to the container store and buy a bunch of bins. Don't worry. I wouldn't do that to you, but I hope that this will be helpful to you. So what do you say? Grab the notebook and pen and let's dive into today's episode. Okay, we are going to jump right in. And just so you know, I send out a weekly newsletter every Friday. And if you are not receiving the decluttering tips and support newsletter, what are you doing? I not only recap the podcast episodes. So if you are driving typically when you listen to podcasts, or like me, you like to listen to them when you go on walks and you hear all these great things mentioned and you're like, man, I don't remember what those are by the time I get home. They'll always be in the show notes, but usually in the newsletter, I do more of a deep dive. And then I also share other tools and resources, as well as a recipe that I am loving this week. Something super easy and typically kid-friendly, because I'm always looking for kid-friendly recipes. So if you would like to sign up for that newsletter, you can check out the show notes or go to simplebyemmy.com/newsletter so that you can start receiving those starting tomorrow. Okay, we're going to dive in, and I have listed in the show notes some related episodes as always, because a lot of these have to do not only with paper organization, but also some other things I've mentioned in the past. So this is kind of the roundup of all of those things. So number one is the physical inbox tray. Now, I have it in my kitchen. It used to be that I had them vertically stacked on the kitchen counter. My husband had one above me. Now he has his in his office. But when I go to get the kids at the bus stop, I get the mail, and that's where I put the mail. Also, when they come into the house and we're looking through their backpacks and getting the papers out, I figure out what is going to be recycled or thrown out first. But then anything that requires action, I put in that inbox tray, and then I process the paper later. So instead of having paper all over the kitchen counters, or dropping the mail in one place and dropping the school papers or anything else in another place, receipts, that kind of stuff, it really corrals all of those things together. Now, if you don't have a lot of countertop space, or you need a different solution, I also have linked in the show notes a vertical file storage option, which can go on the wall, and then you can have 5 or 6 slots there, and that can be for mail, it can be for school papers, you can have one for things to be shredded, for things to be filed, so you can really have that work for you depending on the needs of your family. So that is item number one. Moving on to number two is a scanner. Now, I can recommend definitely Apple Notes as far as being able to scan individual pieces of paper on your phone, and I save those in Apple Notes. I'll be sure to link to a video where I show you how I do that. But for larger projects, and specifically when I've done lots of documents or even photos, I use a ScanSnap scanner, but really any high-powered scanner is great. It's great to have something that can take like up to 15, 20 pages at a time, just go through very smoothly. And then that kind of ties in with number three, which is a shredder. So we use just an Amazon Basics shredder. It's worked out really well for us. And anytime people are drowning in paper, I always recommend having a good scanner and then also a good shredder. But if you have a ton of paper, there are not only community shredding events that happen, you just need to make sure that they are legitimate and offered through your city or county and not by a random company. Because unfortunately, there are people out there that will sort of steal your information if you're not going to kind of like a legitimate approved vendor. Or you can go to a place like FedEx Kinko's or UPS or something like that, and there are shredding options there. But those are number 2 and 3, the scanner and the shredder. Number 4, I've mentioned this in previous episodes, especially the paper episode, is my artwork purgatory. And this is for me just a hamper with a lid that we're not using as a hamper. It's in my closet. And it's not so much now, the boys being a little bit older, they don't have as much artwork and crafts that they're bringing home. Sometimes in the summer, especially if they're doing a lot of camps or vacation Bible schools, they're coming home every day with something. And a lot of it, we love our children, right? But a lot of it is kind of junky and not necessarily things that we want to keep, but they might ask about it. So I put everything in the artwork purgatory for 2 to 3 months. And then when I'm relatively sure they're not going to be asking about it, I'll go through it. And anything that I do want to keep, I'll go ahead and take a picture of to scan, or I'll use the scanner. But it's just a great way to keep all of that kid art, together without having to worry about, oh my gosh, my kid might ask for it, or having it be all over your house. So number 4, artwork purgatory. And again, check the show notes for a little video I have about that. Number 5 is a little bit of a geeky thing. And in fact, my husband makes fun of me frequently about it. It's my label maker. Am I the only one that appreciates a good label maker? Actually, when the label maker prints out the label, I get this feeling of joy hearing the noise. Yes, I'm strange, but if I ever work with you in person, you better believe I'm going to have my label maker. So obviously, you can just use a Sharpie and write on something, but depending on what things are, and this is going to tie nicely with number 6, which are things I use in my pantry, I do like being able to label things so things are easily found. And even for my kids' stuff, like in their backpacks, I have a label with their names on it. So I could not find the one that I actually own on Amazon. I linked to another one, but it's just helpful for if you do have containers or seasonal items, things you don't use very often. And even if you have a clear bin, you don't really want to be like figuring out what it is. So it's a great way to be able to find things easily once you have them organized. And number 6, as I mentioned, has to do with the pantry. These are OXO, I think that's how you pronounce it, OXO, pop top containers. So I'm not a huge like decanting person. I mean, I don't have like mason jars for everything that I own in my fridge and pantry, but I do love these pop top containers for snacks, especially ones that we use frequently. So we have these containers for popcorn, for nuts. I have that for my tea, and also for flowers, and for meaning not flowers like pretty flowers like baking flour, sugar, those types of things. And they're just really easy, especially for the snacks for the kids, to just be able to pop it open, get the goldfish they want, pop it closed. And then we're not doing a lot of individual packaging if I can help it. And it does give the pantry more of a cohesive look, although I'm not really a huge aesthetic person. But if you are, it's something that really helps organize the pantry and things don't get stale. I mean, how many times have we opened the pantry and the box for whatever, the crackers or the cereal is open and everything's stale? So this really helps, provided that your children actually pop it closed. But it kind of reminds me of those popper games like Trouble and that kind of thing. They like the popping aspect, so just reminding them to pop them closed is always helpful. All right, moving on to number 7. This is a caddy for my daily toiletries. So I don't like having things on my sink. I have my electric toothbrush and then I have soap. And that's all I have on my actual sink. I just don't like the clutter and the visual clutter especially. So underneath my sink, I have just a simple caddy with a handle. And again, I couldn't find the one I actually have online, but I tried to find a close one that has a handle. But that has my toothpaste and my moisturizer and my contact solution and those types of things. So it's just really easy when I'm getting ready in the morning to pull it out. And then when I'm done, I put it back underneath the sink and keeps all of those things organized. And, I don't know if you remember back in college using one of your caddies, like the shower caddy. It's kind of like that sort of concept, but it's just smaller and for those daily toiletries. Okay, number 8 is not anything that you need to buy at all. But assuming that you do buy things on Amazon or anywhere else, I love using the boxes for storage and then also for drawer dividers. So specifically for drawer dividers, I'll take some of the smaller boxes and I will cut off the flaps and I will use it to organize, let's say in my dresser drawer, I will have socks and underwear and bras and have those divided. Obviously, you can get the fancy dividers if you want to, but I really love using those Amazon boxes. I also use them for open kind of toy storage. Also, we have a small basketball hoop in our basement, so I put all of the small basketballs in one. We have Nerf guns, way too many Nerf guns. So I put the small Nerf guns in one. And of course, you can get some of those more like fancier fabric bins and those types of things from Target, but I just usually use what I have. And going to clients' homes, I always tell them you don't have to buy bins, we'll just use what you have, and people always seem to have Amazon boxes. So that is number 8. All right, number 9 are trashy take-back bags. Now, this is more for, well, what happens mostly in my home is, I'm sorry, I'm laughing so much in this episode, but the boys come down and it's like 5 minutes before we have to be at the bus, right? They put on their socks, they're like, Mom, my sock has a hole in it. What? Seriously? Like 5 minutes before we get on the bus. So anyway, when a when a sock has a hole in it, I will put it aside. Obviously, I'm not having them wear it once they've told me. And I'm not great at darning them. And usually by the time they tell me, the sock hole is like really huge. But I use these take back bags for any sort of fabrics that cannot be donated or really are not repairable. And they do very responsible recycling of textiles, and they'll also do it for shoes too. So I'm a big fan of theirs. And they also have similar bags for tech items. So if for some reason you don't have e-recycling around you, you can go ahead and check that out again in the show notes. And then number 10 includes keepsake boxes or something called a just for me box. So I've previously talked about Swedish death cleaning, and in doing that, one of the recommendations is having a small box, a just for you box, where it's things that are just important to you, but if you were to pass, no one else really needs to keep it for any reason. So it's just sort of a keepsake box, but also I highly recommend for your kids having small keepsake boxes for them. This is a little different than the quote unquote treasure boxes I've spoken about before, which are more the junky things that they're getting from birthday parties and school and that kind of stuff. These are actual like memory types of things that you want to keep. And I've had clients that have really personalized these for their kids. So I've linked to a couple of those options in the show notes as well. And have one bonus that I wanted to mention, which is kind of creating your own list of local donation and recycling options. Obviously, with the work that I do locally in Northern Virginia, I have a lot of this on hand, but that might include your local Buy Nothing group, knowing that libraries, most of them take book donations, and also places like Best Buy or Staples, they will take electronic recycling, and actually Staples also takes used school supplies too. So you can check out their website for more information, but just kind of learning more about where you can donate and also recycle things locally is always a good thing to figure out, so you have that information ready when you are ready to do those things. All right, well, there you have it. I'm going to go ahead and recap these, and just remember, again, all of the links are in the show notes. And if you join the weekly newsletter, sometimes I'll go a little bit further into all of these things and how I use them and share other tools and resources too. So again, if you want to join the newsletter, it's at simplebyemmy.com/newsletter. But let's go ahead and review these tools. Number 1 is a inbox tray for physical paper. Number 2, scanner. Number 3, shredder. Number 4, artwork purgatory. Number 5, a label maker. Number 6, the OXO pop top containers for the pantry. Number 7, a caddy for daily toiletries. Number 8, using Amazon boxes for storage and drawer dividers. Number 9, the trash sheet take back bags. And number 10, the just for me / keepsake boxes. So I hope that this has been helpful to you and look forward to seeing you next Thursday. So bye for now.